Good morning. This is the start of a cause to elect Rand Paul as the next United States of America, the next president. And I'm going to tell you at the outset that it's not going to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. For Rand and Kelly and their family, they've decided that they are prepared to put their lives on the line, stake their fortunes to say that we can do better. And my only request for you today is that you will not only support them, but that you would pray for them by name every single day. I saw an old friend of mine, Ron Paul, who came in. And Ron walked through the alleyway back there, and he heard Ron Paul run, and he said, "I'm not doing this again." So Ron, it's great to see you and your family and the missus, and appreciate what you have stood for. We're going to ask J.D. Williams to come up and lead us in our pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.D., and thank you for the sacrifice that you made for our great nation. Now I want to introduce a young man that I've gotten an opportunity to visit with over the last hour and a half and have some fellowship with him. And I'm tickled in a short period of time to call him my new friend. Pastor Jerry Stephenson will now give us our invocation.
Would you bow with me, please? God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might has led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met. Lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee, shadow beneath the hand. May we forever stand true to our God, true to this land of the United States of America. As we come before you, O God, we thank you for this day, that you have brought us together to witness a movement in this country, a movement to bring back this country to the values and the principles that this country was built upon. And we thank you for Senator Rand Paul, for him coming and stepping out with courage and commitment. We thank you, O God, for his family, his father and his mother and all of his siblings and his dear wife and children. May you put your shadow of your love and your hand over them, O God. And now I ask for everyone to join with me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. And they all said, Amen.
You all in for a real treat as I ask Marlena Van Noos to come and sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Marlena, if I ever decide to sing, I'm going to sing just like that. Next, I want to introduce Dr. Ralph Alvarado for a Guatemala video.
Well, the lights are back on. That's great. Well, good morning. You can all imagine what went through my head when I was asked to introduce the next President of the United States. Excitement, hope, honor, pride are just some of the words that might help describe this feeling. But the biggest word that came to my mind was how. How do I sum up a transformational individual for America in just a few words? I realized that I should share really what I know about Rand Paul. Rand Paul is more concerned about doing what's best for our country rather than doing what is politically expedient. He's a man who, in my opinion, would just as soon be voted out of office and return to his ophthalmology practice than to violate his principles or the United States Constitution. It is time for us to elect a man of principle. It is time for us to inject leadership into our White House. Kentucky has witnessed leadership for the past 5 years in the United States Senate, and with Rand Paul in the White House, all Americans will know what real leadership is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's also time for someone with knowledge and experience to lead us. It is time for Dr. Rand Paul to lead us. While attending Duke Medical School, Rand was trained, as many physicians are, to look at problems objectively and to solve them with rapid, effective analysis. A physician knows how to build a coalition of knowledgeable people to achieve a necessary goal. A physician is also inherently compassionate. I know Dr. Rand Paul as a friend and as a doctor, and as a longtime member of Lions Club International, Dr. Paul founded the Southern Kentucky Lions Eye Clinic in 1995, a nonprofit organization that's offering free eye care to patients that are in need. He's performed free surgeries for patients here in Kentucky and for children in developing countries all over the world. Last year, he traveled to Guatemala with the Morin Eye Center to perform 200 surgical cases. And there are plans also underway for a medical philanthropic trip to Haiti later this year. It's time for a compassionate leader in the White House. It is also time for a uniting force. Over the past 8 years, America has seen way too much division. We need a leader who's going to embrace diversity and can bring everyone together. We need someone who can broaden the tent of opportunity in America and show in actions, not just words, that we are all equal under the Constitution and our God. Young, old, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, rich, poor, all are welcome, all are equal, and all can prosper. And we need someone who can unite this country into one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is time for principled leadership. It is time for knowledge, for experience, for compassion, for opportunity, for unity. It is time for a President Rand Paul. Now, please take a look at physician Dr. Rand Paul on his recent trip to Guatemala.
In a makeshift operating room in remote Guatemala, a side of Senator Rand Paul most people have never seen. The eye surgeon on a mission to help the blind and near blind see in a country where more than half the population lives in poverty.
This is an amazing enterprise. We have a surgery center, we got a dental clinic, and we've got a place doing glasses.
Scores of people line up every day for a week, hoping American doctors can give them their sight and their lives back. Back inside the hospital, less than 24 hours after surgery, bandages are removed and the reactions are heartwarming, even tear-inducing.
Oh, she was
Just a day before, a farmer couldn't see through cataract-clouded eyes. Then the eye patches come off. One of more than 200 success stories in a week, lives transformed.
A physician is who I am. That's who I am. I'm a physician.
There's no reward, more dramatic than seeing someone sit up and say, "I can see."
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lauren Bosler.
Ago, when I became eligible to vote, I contemplated my personal political beliefs and what types of candidates embodied my values. I was raised as a Republican, but I still struggled to find a leader that I believed shared my view of the way forward. I wanted to find the candidates that shared my values as a Republican and as an American. That is when I found Rand Paul. Young Americans are now faced with the legacy of legislative dysfunction, political dogma, and an unclear future. We hear rants from the left and rants from the right. We are tired of those who simply want to play partisan politics. We yearn for a true leader, one who represents us. My generation is not comprised of the traditional electorate, and Rand Paul is not the traditional politician. He is not only interested in Republican successes, he is interested in American successes. In an era of big government, Rand Paul wants to restore our decision-making powers, not take them from us. He wants us to participate in the political process, not be a victim of it. Today, young people communicate in new ways. We use social media. We use platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Rand Paul is not interested in limiting how we use these technologies, nor does he want to trample our civil liberties by monitoring these communication tools. Rand Paul encourages innovation, protects civil liberties, and fights for our freedoms. Most importantly, Rand Paul stands up for our Constitution and the principles on which our nation was founded on. For these reasons and many more, I am proud to stand with Rand. Thank you.
The Constitution isn't about one individual. The Constitution isn't about restraining you. The Constitution is about restraining government. Ask the Facebook generation whether we should put a kid in jail for the nonviolent crime of drug abuse, and you'll hear a resounding no. The Facebook generation if they want to bail out too big to fail banks with their tax dollars, and you'll hear a hell no. As our voices rise in protest, the NSA monitors your every phone call. If you have a cell phone, you are under surveillance. I believe what you do on your cell phone is none of their damn business. The enthusiasm kids have and the, I think, inherent belief in the right to privacy is overwhelming on campuses. And it doesn't matter whether it's Berkeley or the college at Charleston, kids universally think government's gone too far at snooping and looking at their record. Will we sit idly by and let our rights be trampled upon? Or will we stand like men and women of character and say, we are free, and no man, no matter how well-intentioned, will take our freedom from us? Liberty is infectious. Freedom is popular. We can spread it. But we need to be the party that's not concerned just with one or two of the amendments. We need to be the party of the entire Bill of Rights. Mr. President, we won't let you. We will not let you run roughshod over our rights. When the President refused to rule out droning of an American citizen, I took a stand. I filibustered. Will you, America's next generation of liberty lovers, will you stand and be heard?
Gentlemen, please welcome Pastor Jerry Stephenson.
Now, when you give a pastor a microphone, and then tell him, you got 2 minutes. Something wrong with them. Well, I'm Pastor Jerry Stephenson. I serve as the preaching minister and one of the shepherds of the Midwest Church of Christ here in the city of Louisville. We minister an inner city ministry. We're a small congregation of 400 people with a worldwide mission, and that is to engage our community right in our own backyard. Several years ago, I was blessed to do the invocation for then a young doctor from Bowling Green, who was out here talking about it's time to work with children and people in the inner city. And I said, this man's out of his mind. Senator Paul came to us. We run an inner city ministry called the Village Learning and Development Center. Senator Paul came to us before he was senator and met with the parents of this small inner city ministry. And he made a promise to them that he would listen to them and that he would hear their voice. Ever since then, he comes back every year to hear the parents in that community. Most politicians, when they get to Washington, they forget about the people that they represent. I come to tell you, Senator Rand Paul does not forget those little mothers and fathers and those little children in that neighborhood. He does not forget them. In the neighborhood of our church, 81% of the fourth grade children are reading below standard. It is the commitment that Senator Rand Paul has come to visit our center. He helped us form our first annual free education freedom breakfast last year in 2014. And let me tell you something. Ever since then, there has been volunteers, resources coming so we can keep our commitment to the families of West Louisville. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been a Democrat. I'd been a Democrat all of my life. But in 2012, I decided I could no longer follow the leadership in the Democratic Party. I am an independent, and I am telling every independent, it's time for you to run out here and run with Senator Rand Paul. Now, let's see how he's engaged throughout this country. He's not just engaged here in Louisville. He's engaged in Chicago, in Detroit, in Washington, in Atlanta. He goes everywhere. It doesn't matter what color you are, Rand Paul will be there.
Liberal policies have failed our poor communities. Our schools are not equal, and the poverty gap continues to widen. It's time for a new way. A way predicated on opportunity and freedom.
What are you doing coming to a heavily Latino, heavily Democratic area of the city? Why did you come here today?
Well, you know, I think the message of freedom and less government resonates with a lot of people. A lot of, I think, what's fundamentally American is making choices and giving people choices. What's interesting about school choice is that many of the people that we're trying to help, because of their economic circumstances, don't have many choices. You know, for example, wealthy people can go to any school they want. So there are people in Washington who don't seem to think that that choice is also good for people who live in poverty. And so I think the choice should be there for everyone, and that your money, when you paid your school taxes, still should be your money. You ought to be able to direct it where you want to take it. If you could just tell us why you chose to bring India here, and if it's difficult, how hard it is to get here, that kind of thing.
I always exercise my choice. I travel about 40 minutes every morning to bring India to school and to also bring her brother.
Education is the great equalizer. It's not easy. Not everybody's got the same chances.
It's a little difficult, but it's an investment. I'm investing in my children.
I've introduced this in Washington. There's something called Title I funds that come out of Washington. They come with a lot of strings, and they go to the school. I'd rather attach them to the student. So if you meet the poverty requirements, you'd get the money. I'm all for vouchers and school choice. Let the kid go to a better public school or a private school or a religious school or a charter school, but let them have a choice. Liberal policies have failed our poor communities. I've seen and felt this undercurrent of unease. I've been to Ferguson. I've been to Chicago and Detroit and a lot of places with a great deal of poverty. Criminal justice, or the lack of criminal justice, it's not a black or white problem. It's not a black or brown problem. What it is it's a poverty problem. We should stand and loudly proclaim, enough's enough. We should not have laws that ruin the lives of young men and women who have committed no violence. We should not have drug laws or a court system that disproportionately punishes the black community. I hope that African Americans will again look to the party of emancipation, civil liberty, and individual freedom. Thank you very much.
Over the last couple of days, you all have probably seen, gotten messages by email and texting and whatever method of communication you use to see the video. And now I want you again to see the video.
There's probably few candidates for 2016 that are more interesting than Rand Paul.
Rand Paul has been the most consistently principled person talking about issues.
The senator from Kentucky might just be the candidate who ends up winning this thing.
He's got the organization on the ground right now. He's in all 50 states. He's got young folks gravitating towards him. He's got African Americans taking a pause and looking at him.
To fix Washington, we can't have business as usual. Congress should read every bill. Congress should also live under the laws they pass. If they won't listen, we should limit all their terms and send the career politicians packing.
Senator Rand Paul filibustered yesterday for almost 13 hours on the Senate floor. Senator Paul showed stamina, a passion that many Americans can admire. Others joined him on the floor at various times to show their support.
I mean, he's out there talking. This isn't one of those, I'm not going to do anything. He's using the filibuster the way it's meant to be used.
Liberal policies have failed our inner cities.
I want to talk to you about your trip to Detroit this week, where you helped open the first of what are going to be several Republican outreach centers in inner cities. You also unveiled your plan for economic freedom zones in depressed areas.
I think at this point you'd have to call him a front runner, and I think it says something profound about the Republican Party.
It's time for a new way, a new set of ideas, a new leader, one you can trust, one who works for you, and above all, it's time for a new president.
When a man finds a virtuous and capable wife, he has found something more valuable than precious jewels. Kelly Paul has been the wife and the life of Rand Paul for 24 years. They have 3 sons. They have 3 sons, and you're going to like this young lady as the First Lady. This place that you and I call home and the rest of the world calls America, it's a pretty special place. I present to you, by way of video, Kelly Paul.
I met Rand on a beautiful spring day in April. I thought he was cute. He was a cute, curly-headed guy. I also thought he was probably 18 years old and still in college. He looked so young. So I kind of blew him off at first. But Rand kept trying. He was kind of persistent at the party, and he came up to me again a little bit later, and we started talking. And during our conversation, I realized that he was not 18. He was 26 and a surgical intern at Georgia Baptist. Very intelligent, very well-read, and really like no one that I'd ever met before. Rand is the middle child of 5. From what I've heard from his siblings growing up, he's a lot like he is today. He was opinionated, had a lot of energy, played a lot of sports. He also loved to collect coins, which is something that he used to do with his grandmother. He was very close to her, and through the years, as her eyesight began to fail, he became her eyes to spy the faint mint marks on the coins as they would go through them together. But Rand never forgot how sad it was for him to watch his grandmother lose her vision. And I think that really cemented in him the desire to be an ophthalmologist. One of the most gratifying things for Rand in his career has been the ability to do eye surgery on children from Guatemala starting 15 years ago. And now he's gone back to Guatemala and operated on hundreds of other patients there. He said it was an incredibly moving experience. I think it's moments like that that really speak to who he is as a surgeon and what motivates him. Rand is a wonderful dad. He's got great energy and enthusiasm, and he's always been a wonderful builder of forts, bonfires, anything active and outside. You know, from an early age, all of our boys loved sports, and Rand has coached Little League baseball, soccer, you name it, he's out there. Being a physician gives Rand a unique perspective in Washington, simply because he's trained to diagnose a problem and find a solution. He truly believes that if you believe in something, you should get involved. If you put your mind and your energy to it, you can do it. And I think that's a great example for our kids. And it's also something that makes him an amazing person to be married to. Rand has the energy, the ideas, the honesty to really help restore the prosperity and hope in our country.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kelly Paul. The walk-on music. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here in Louisville today, surrounded by so many people who are passionate about making our country stronger, freer, and more prosperous. Together, we share a vision for America, a vision of a country unshackled by crushing debt, recommitted to our founding principles, and fueled by freedom and prosperity to create endless opportunities for Americans from every single walk of life. Many of you here today have been helping us give voice to these ideals from the very beginning. So first, I just want to express that Rand and I are deeply grateful for your support, your prayers, your friendship, and your encouragement. It's hard to believe that it's been 6 years since April of 2009, when Coach Rand Paul left our youngest son's Little League game to go give what he said was going to be a short message to a small group of people in downtown Bowling Green. When he arrived, there were 700 sign-waving Tea Partiers filling Fountain Square Park in Bowling Green. Rand told me that there was such energy and electricity in the air that night that he sensed a real change in the mood of the country and a desire for real reform. Like the majority of Americans, Rand was frustrated with Washington, and he soon started talking to me about making a run for the U.S. Senate. I'll be honest, I was not exactly thrilled. I think my first words were, "How can you do this to me?" That's true. But you know, Rand is very persuasive. He tried to convince me at the time. His first line of attack was telling me, "You know, everyone says that I have a less than 10% chance of winning the primary." But I had heard him speak that night in Fountain Square Park, and I knew. With the sudden certainty and clarity that sometimes you have in life, I just knew. I looked him in the eye and I said, "No, if you do this, you're going to win. I know it." Rand's incredible work ethic is evidenced by the fact that he has sponsored or co-sponsored hundreds of bills in his 4 years in the Senate. I think there is no doubt that he is making a difference. Many of his bills are bipartisan, ranging from reforms in our criminal justice system to the creation of economic freedom zones for depressed areas of our state and across the country. Rand is truly a different kind of legislator, which has earned him descriptions like the one-man think tank from Politico. His 13-hour stand for the Bill of Rights lit a spark across this country, uniting people of all ages and across the entire political spectrum. Over the course of the filibuster, the outpouring of support through social media was truly extraordinary. Stand with Rand was trending nationally, and it was reported that over 1 million tweets were sent out in support of Rand. I told our kids, this is what happens when one person is bold enough to take a stand. I remember how exciting it was for our family as we watched it all unfold on TV that night. Our kids had their phones out, reading tweets from people all over the country and even around the world. Reactions that were so spontaneous and powerful that it was something that we will truly never forget. I was incredibly proud of Rand that night, but I always have been. This year we will celebrate 25 years of marriage. Rand has amazing energy and optimism, and life with him is always filled with bold possibility. As I told him once, you are brave and you inspire that in others. So please join me in welcoming my husband and your awesome U.S. Senator, Rand Paul.
message. A message that is loud and clear and does not mince words. We've come to take our country back. We've come to take our country back from the special interests that use Washington as their personal piggy bank. The special interests that are more concerned with their personal welfare than the general welfare. The Washington machine that gobbles up our freedoms and invades every nook and cranny of our lives must be stopped. Less than 5 years ago, I stood just down the road in my hometown in Bowling Green and said those same words. I wasn't supposed to win. No one thought I would. Some people ask me, then why are you running? The answer is the same now as it was then. I have a vision for America. I want to be part of a return to prosperity. A true economic boom that lifts all Americans. A return to a government restrained by the Constitution. A return to privacy, opportunity, liberty. Too often, when Republicans have won, we have squandered our victory by becoming part of the Washington machine. That's not who I am. That's not why I ran for office the first time just a few years ago. The truth is I love my life as a small town doctor. Every day I woke up, I felt lucky to be able to do the things I loved. More importantly, I was blessed to be able to do things that made a difference in people's lives. I never could have done any of this, though, without the help of my parents who are here today. I'd like you to join me and thank my mother and dad. With my parents' help, I was able to make it through long years of medical training to become an eye surgeon. For me, there's nothing that compares with helping someone see better. Last August, I was privileged to travel to Guatemala on a medical mission trip. Together with a team of surgeons from across the U.S., we operated on more than 200 people who were blind or nearly blind from cataracts. I was grateful to be able to put my scrubs back on, peer into the oculars of the microscope, and focus on the task at hand, to take a surgical approach to fix a problem. One day in Guatemala, a man arrived and told me that I had operated on his wife the day before. His wife could see clearly for the first time in years, and she had begged him to get on the bus, travel the winding roads, and come back to our surgery center. He too was nearly blind from hardened cataracts. After his surgery, the next day, his wife sat next to me. As I unveiled the patch from his eyes, it was a powerful, emotional moment for me to see them looking at each other clearly for the first time in years, to see the face they loved again. As I saw the joy in their eyes, I thought, this is why I became a doctor. In that moment, I also remembered my grandmother, who inspired me to become an eye surgeon. She spent hours with me as a kid. We would sort through her old coin collection, looking for wheat pennies and Indian heads. But as her vision began to fail, I became her eyes to inspect the faintness of the mint marks on the old weather-worn coins. I went with my grandmother to the ophthalmologist as she had her corneas replaced. I was also with her when she received the sad news that macular degeneration had done irreparable harm to her eyes. My hope that my grandmother would see again made me want to become an eye surgeon, to make a difference in people's lives. I've been fortunate. I've been able to enjoy the American dream. I worry, though, that the opportunity and hope are slipping away for our sons and daughters. As I watch our once great economy collapse under mounting spending and debt, I think, what kind of America will our grandchildren see? It seems to me that both parties and the entire political system are to blame. Big government and debt doubled under a Republican administration. And it's now tripling under Barack Obama's watch. President Obama is on course to add more debt than all of the previous presidents combined. We borrow $1 million a minute. This vast accumulation of debt threatens not just our economy, but our security. We can wake up now and do the right thing. Quit spending money we don't have. This message of liberty is for all Americans, Americans from all walks of life. The message of liberty, opportunity, and justice is for all Americans, whether you wear a suit, a uniform, or overalls, whether you're white or black, rich or poor. In order to restore America, one thing is for certain, though. We must not dilute our message or give up on our principles. If we nominate a candidate who is simply Democrat light, what's the point? Why bother? We need to boldly proclaim our vision for America. We need to go boldly forth under the banner of liberty that clutches the Constitution in one hand and the Bill of Rights in the other. Washington is horribly broken. I fear it can't be fixed from within. We, the people, must rise up and demand action. Congress will never balance the budget unless you force them to do so. Congress has an abysmal record with balancing anything. Our only recourse is to force Congress to balance the budget with a constitutional amendment. I have been to Washington, and let me tell you, there is no monopoly on knowledge there. I ran for office because we have too many career politicians. I believe it now more than ever. We limit the president to 2 terms. It's about time we limit the terms of Congress. I want to reform Washington. I want common sense rules that will break the logjam in Congress. That's why I've introduced a Read the Bills Act. The bills are 1,000 pages long and no one reads them. They are often plopped on our desk with only a few hours before a vote. So I've proposed something truly extraordinary. Let's read the bills, every page. From the time I was a very young boy, I was taught to love and appreciate America. Love of liberty pulses in my veins, not because we have beautiful mountains or white sand beaches, although we do, and not because of our abundance of resources. It's more visceral than that. Our great nation was founded upon the extraordinary notion that government should be restrained and freedom should be maximized. America, to me, is that beacon. We are unique among the nations in that our country stands for freedom. Freedom nurtured our country from a rebellious group of colonies into the world's greatest nation. When tyranny threatened the world, America led the way to rid the world of Nazis and fascist regimes. Resolutely we stood decade after decade against communism, the engine of capitalism finally winning out against the sputtering, incompetent engine of socialism. We won the Cold War. America and freedom are so intertwined that people literally are dying to come here. The freedom we've fostered in America has unleashed genius and advancement like never before. Yet our great nation still needs new ideas and new answers to old problems. From an early age, I worked. I taught swimming lessons, I mowed lawns, I did landscaping, I put roofs on houses, I painted houses. I never saw work, though, as punishment. Work always gave me a sense of who I am. Self-esteem can't be given, it must be earned. Work is not punishment, work is the reward. Two of my sons work minimum wage jobs while they go to college. I'm proud of them as I see them realize the value of hard work. I can see their self-esteem grow as they cash their paychecks. I have a vision for America where everyone who wants to work will have a job. Many Americans, though, are being left behind. The reward of work seems beyond their grasp. Under the watch of both parties, the poor seem to get poorer and the rich get richer. Trillion-dollar government stimulus packages have only widened the income gap. Politically connected cronies get taxpayer dollars by the hundreds of millions, and poor families across America continue to suffer. I have a different vision, an ambitious vision, a vision that will offer opportunity to all Americans, especially those who've been left behind. My plan includes economic freedom zones to allow impoverished areas like Detroit, West Louisville, Eastern Kentucky to prosper by leaving more money in the pockets of the people who live there. Can you imagine what a $1 billion stimulus could do for Detroit or for Appalachia? I'm convinced that most Americans want to work. I want to free up the great engine of American prosperity. I want to see millions of Americans back at work. In my vision for America, we'll bring back manufacturing jobs that pay well. How? We'll dramatically lower the tax on American companies that wish to bring their profits home. More than $2 trillion in American profit currently sits overseas. In my vision for America, new highways and bridges will be built across the country, not by raising your taxes, but by lowering the tax to bring this American profit home. Even in this polarized Congress, we have a chance of passing this. I say let's bring $2 trillion home to America. Let's bring it home now. Liberal policies have failed our inner cities. Let's just get the facts straight. They have failed our inner cities. Our schools are not equal, and the poverty gap continues to widen. Martin Luther King spoke of two Americas. He described them as two starkly different American experiences that exist side by side. In one America, people experience the opportunity of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In the other America, people experience a daily ugliness that dashes hope and leaves only the fatigue of despair.
Although I was born into the America that experiences and believes in opportunity, my trips to Detroit, to Appalachia, to Chicago have revealed what I call an undercurrent of unease. It's time for a new way, a way predicated on justice, opportunity, and freedom. Those of us who have enjoyed the American dream must break down the wall that separates us from the other America. I want all our children to have the same opportunities that I had. We need to stop limiting kids in poor neighborhoods to failing public schools and offer them school choice. It won't happen, though, unless we realize that we can't borrow our way to prosperity. Currently, some $3 trillion comes into the U.S. Treasury. Couldn't the country just survive on $3 trillion? I propose we do something extraordinary. Let's just spend what comes in. In my vision for America, freedom and prosperity at home can only be achieved if we defend against enemies who are dead set on attacking us. Without question, we must defend ourselves and American interests from our enemies. But until we name the enemy, we can't win the war. The enemy is radical Islam. You can't get around it. And not only will I name the enemy, I will do whatever it takes to defend America from these haters of mankind. We need a national defense, robust enough to defend against all attack, moderate enough to deter all enemies, and nimble enough to defend our vital interests. But we also need a foreign policy that protects American interests and encourages stability, not chaos. At home, conservatives understand that government is the problem, not the solution. Conservatives should not succumb, though, to the notion that a government inept at home will somehow succeed in building nations abroad. I envision an America with a national defense unparalleled, undefeatable, and unencumbered by overseas nation building. I envision a national defense that promotes, as Reagan put it, peace through strength. I believe in applying Reagan's approach to foreign policy to the Iran issue. Successful negotiations with untrustworthy adversaries are only achieved from a position of strength. We brought Iran to the table through sanctions that I voted for. Now we must stay strong. That's why I've co-sponsored legislation that ensures that any deal between the U.S. and Iran must be approved by Congress. Not only is that good policy, it's the law. It concerns me that the Iranians have a different interpretation of the agreement. They're putting out statements that say completely opposite of what we're saying. It concerns me that we may attempt, or the president may attempt, to unilaterally and prematurely halt sanctions. I will oppose any deal that does not end Iran's nuclear ambitions and have strong verification measures. And I will insist that the final version be brought before Congress. The difference between President Obama and myself, he seems to think you can negotiate from a position of weakness. Yet everyone needs to realize that negotiations are not inherently bad, that trust but verify is required in any negotiation, but that our goal always should be and always is peace, not war. We must realize, though, that we do not project strength by borrowing money from China to send it to Pakistan. Let's quit building bridges in foreign countries and use that money to build some bridges here at home. It angers me to see mobs burning our flag and chanting death to America in countries that receive millions of dollars in our foreign aid. I say it must end. I say not one penny more to these haters of America. To defend our country, we do need to gather intelligence on the enemy. But when the intelligence director is not punished for lying under oath, how are we to trust our government agencies? Warrantless searches of America's phones and computer records are un-American and a threat to our civil liberties. I say that your phone records are yours. I say the phone records of law-abiding citizens are none of their damn business. Is this where we light up the phones? The president created this vast dragnet by executive order. And as president, on day one, I will immediately end this unconstitutional surveillance. I believe we can have liberty and security, and I will not compromise your liberty for a false sense of security. Not now, not ever. We must defend ourselves, but we must never give up who we are as a people. We must never diminish the Bill of Rights as we fight this long war against evil. We must believe in our founding documents. We must protect economic and personal liberty again. America has much greatness left in her. We are still exceptional, and we are still a beacon for the world. We will thrive when we believe in ourselves again. I see an America strong enough to deter foreign aggression, yet wise enough to avoid unnecessary intervention. I see an America where criminal justice is applied equally, and any law that disproportionately incarcerates people of color is repealed. I see an America with a restrained IRS that cannot target, cannot harass American citizens for their political or religious beliefs. I see our big cities once again shining and beckoning with creativity and ingenuity, with American companies offering American jobs. With your help, this message will ring from coast to coast. A message of liberty, justice, and personal responsibility. Today begins the journey to take America back. To rescue a great country now adrift, join me as together we seek a new vision for America. Today, I announce with God's help, with the help of liberty lovers everywhere, that I am putting myself forward as a candidate for President of the United States of America.